What's going on, guys? Big Mikey 717. I'm back with you. Another video out here working in the garage. So this one finally is going to be a mix of things because we have a couple things going on, but we are going to dive into it because this is going to be multi-day for me, only a single video for you guys. Today we're going to do a little bit of put together on the RD, which we should be getting pretty close to that first startup. So today we're just going to finish. I got to get the carburetors on, get the air filters on, get the carburetors hooked up, all the clamps and everything ready to go. I'm going to double check for some fuel line that I have laying around and see if it fits. If it does, great. I'm going to try to double check on some inline filters to make sure everything is still good. But tomorrow we're going to dive into a whole bunch of other stuff. So let's get into this here real quick. I got the last little bit of stuff from HVC Cycles, which is a big cafe racer company. I mean, I found a lot of parts for this bike and they're not that badly priced. So if anybody that's rebuilding old Japanese bikes, doing cafe builds, these are the guys to go to for either OEM replicas or just upkeep. I mean, I found my bolt kits that I did for the side cases from there. We just got in new band clamps for the intake. We also got carburetor rebuilds for the Makunis, the OEM carburetors. And we also got, they make in-house a billet clutch retainer, which I could not find the OEM one to save my life. But we can finally put that on, then we'll have a working or operational clutch. So yeah, let's just dive into it, get this stuff finished up and get this stuff back on the bike. We're getting closer and closer to that first startup, guys, and I'm getting more and more pumped. Anyway, guys, these band clamps that HVC Cycles had, biggest reason I went with them is because their price point was very, very good. Like, I looked at these clamps from a couple different places, and they want some astronomical prices for a clamp. Like, some of these places you're looking at like $10 plus for a simple band clamp to go around these carburetors. And HVC actually had a spec sheet that had band clamps, and you could literally pick small, medium, and large. And the thing that made it nice is the breakdown that they had of these parts. When you saw the small, medium, and large, it was literally small are for the intake clamps, medium are for the filter clamps, and that's really it. Like, they made it extremely simple when it came to ordering this stuff. Like, it wasn't a pain in the ass to be like, oh, I got to get measurements and check and see that this is right, and this is right. It was pretty much just, hey, this size goes for this, and this size goes for that. Which did make it easy. I did take some measurements just because when you do click them, they do tell you like, oh, hey, this clamp is made for a 42 mil application, or anywhere from, like this one here, the minimum is 42 millimeters. That's as small as it'll go. I need 44, so I have the space, but holy crap, my hand's cramping. But all right, so we got carburetor 1 hooked up. Just tighten down my clamp. And again, too, going on the price point thing, is these clamps were only $3. They were $2.99. So I really can't complain with that. And they're black, which is kind of nice because you don't have to worry about it if you're kind of looking for color preferences, like to make something pop a little bit, then yeah, maybe you want to go somewhere else. But I mean, me, $3, black clamps. It's a black boot, so I don't need anything crazy. But there we go. One carburetor is on. I can probably play around with the replacement here for this Y, but time for carb 2. The other thing that I was able to do too is I flipped these coils around because I kept looking at these plug wires trying to figure out how in the world they worked in the first place. But the coils were flipped. So the reason the wires didn't work from the wire coming here to the spark plug was just it wasn't long enough. So I went ahead and flipped everything around just as a kind of cover my ass deal. Is I put a little bit of heat shrink on this end of the boot here just to add to it because it did seem a hair loose. I did tighten it up and try to like force the fitting in there a little bit more, and everything seems to be good. If these do end up going bad, again, spark plug wire and a new boot's probably not going to cost me that much. But yeah, let's go ahead and throw our filters on. And I think the carburetors are mounted and just about ready to go. All right, well, we got our throttle hooked up. Carburetors are on, clamps are on, air filters are on. These, I have to admit, were actually pretty nice, and they weren't that expensive. But yeah, we got that hooked up. So close, guys, to getting this thing fired up. Let's go ahead and get it out of my pocket. This is the billet clutch retainer that I had to order. So again, Suzuki discontinued this part, and it's very, very hard to find online. And yes, it's a little expensive, little piece of billet, but again, HVC Cycle, we got our clutch retainer. Let's go ahead and throw this on and have a functioning clutch. Got that retainer. Did have to do a little bit of playing around. I'm hoping that this doesn't heat up much. If not, I'll route it a different way. But the clutch was the choke was in the way a little bit. So I might have to play around with that just a little bit more yet. But we have a working clutch finally. So there's that. Filters are on. And now we're going to dive into this tomorrow. We got a whole lot of wiring to deal with. But I found my manual. I know how the diagram goes because my biggest thing is these were throwing me off. Because apparently the wires that I was going to run here, which were brown and brown, apparently one of these is gray. A gray goes to the brown. Yeah, I don't know. So a little bit of playing around to do yet, but we have some stuff hooked up here. I have a feeling that once we work on the wiring, besides like these are for the lights, the headlights. So I have a feeling those I'm not going to really worry about much. And these ones here that don't have any tails, because I need a plug for these. That's going to be for the gauge cluster. But this here goes to the ignition, I believe. Yeah, goes to the ignition. So these are the more important ones because I don't really care so much on the gauge working, the headlights working. I just want to make sure that this thing runs, and then we'll throw the lights and stuff to it again. I'm hoping I think I do need a battery, but if I have to, battery warehouse right down the road, so we'll run in there and get a battery. But we'll be back tomorrow, cranking on it again. All right, guys, next morning, heading out to Bernheisel Race Components. So from what I saw on their website, they do a lot of dirt car chassis, like sprint cars, late model, limited late, stuff like that. So they do powder coating in-house. We are on our way with the swing arm to have them powder coat, well, sandblast, then hopefully powder coat. But we're going to go, honestly, I'm getting a quote, but hopefully their price is good. I'm just going to drop it off and we'll get it back hopefully in a week or so. Get the turbo bike put back together, get it off the lift, and just start cranking out some parts, getting things ready for the race season. All right, guys, just like that, swing arms dropped off at Bernheisel, and we're heading home. So I'm going to pull out the diagram, and we're just going to go to town. We're going to try to get as much of this wired up as humanly possible, and then kind of go from there. All I know is I'm so glad, thanks to Payson, that all of this stuff is, all these wires are relatively clean, so I can tell the colors. But holy hell, I forgot how much I hate wiring harnesses or wiring diagrams. Trying to locate where all these wires are supposed to go and not go, and good grief. Got the coils hooked up at least. Now I just gotta figure out where some of this other stuff's going. All right, guys. Well, this is a few days later because I went through the whole manual that I had that Payson had given me with this bike. Some of the colors weren't quite matching up with what I was seeing. Like, the harness that I have is complete, but certain things that I was looking at, the colors weren't matching up to what was in the book. So after talking with a handful of people in some forums, we made some pretty good headway. I mean, I still have to tape all this, but there's still some wires that I'm trying to find homes for. Mostly just like turn signal stuff for these, but still some stuff to work on. But then again, one, I had to get some help from other people from the forums that do build these bikes and have a little bit more time with them. But also, we did some shop upgrades. You can see behind me, finally got a new toolbox. So we got rid of our small tool cart and we got rid of the small Craftsman box. And I upgraded to a new Husky box. Went ahead and labeled everything and have everything set up. Pretty efficient for me. Like, certain tools have a lot of stuff set up ready to go. Don't have a lot of metric stuff, even though I only work on metric bikes. My metric drawer is very skimpy, but got this set up. We went ahead. I actually just finished this about an hour ago. Went ahead and did some cleaning up on the welder, wiped it down. I got a cup set from Welding, Furic cups. I got my new Miller mask. Got the cart all set up. Went ahead and have my big plugs in. The extra one is hopefully for a compressor upgrade. Get rid of my old Craftsman. Well, not necessarily get rid of it, but swap it out and get a big one like we used to have. You can see the studs in the floor. But yeah, got that stuff ready to go. Hopefully get cleaned up out here a little bit more, but still cranking away on the wiring for this bike, and it has been a nightmare since the harness was completely bare. Honestly, the biggest thing that saved me here lately was when I found that this relay tucked up here, and I could see that the harness started up this way, and then I could kind of like start laying things out. A couple pictures that some guys sent me were pretty easy. Some of this stuff here, like these are your battery hookups, and then I have my grounds going to the tail light. This is throwing me off because I thought this was for the headlight. Apparently it's not. So this has just been interesting to mess around with. But progress. Definitely progress. Well, guys, besides the Speedo and the headlight, which I did take off just because I needed a little bit more kind of accessibility to certain adapters and stuff up here, we have it done for the most part. This should be enough to at least fire. These connectors go to the Speedo and the headlight. Pretty much everything in here I'm going to wrap up or at least try to put something over. But the rest of the harness is pretty much ready to go. Yeah, this has been a very, very long procedure. Having a bare harness with no routing really explained. I put a post out on a couple forums for these bikes. And thank God that these guys are pretty cool. They like that people are rebuilding these things. I told them that I had a bare harness and I didn't really know how to route it at all. And luckily a good bit of them chipped in and sent me some pictures and sent me some more diagrams. The diagram that was in the book, again, was just a little bit of a pain. Certain colors weren't quite matching, so I was a little skeptical, but when some people sent me pictures, it had the exact color coding the whole way through, and I was pretty happy. Some of these wires are going to get tucked a little bit better, but they're just routed. I'd say like kind of temporary, but we still have some stuff to do. I did start putting new connectors on some of the terminals for the Speedo, so hopefully we can just kind of do plug and play to get it hooked up. But I have a feeling that we're going to do the gas lines and probably try to rig up some kind of fueling system just to see that this bike turns over and that we're all looking pretty good. So kind of going to end it there. I know this has been a long video. We are still waiting. This has been a couple days, well, like well over a week now, trying to mess with everything. We are still waiting on the swing arm for the turbo bike. I'm going to go ahead and probably pull most of my thing is once the turbo bike is done, once the shock's on it, it's pretty much ready to roll. It'll be good for next season. The only thing I'll probably do before the season starts is an oil change and double check the clutch. But everything else on that bike's good. So once the swing arm's back on the turbo bike, it's going to go back in the corner. The pink bike's going to come out on the lift. We're going to go over that. I've been looking into some clutch options for that. And yeah, we're just going to keep plugging away at it, try and make some more headway. Hopefully, again, in the next video, or at least the next two, will hopefully be the fire up of the RD. Just been a lot of stuff going on here lately, and we're just chipping away. That's all we can really do. And the off season is, honestly, it's starting to come to a close pretty quick. So I'm going to start putting the pedal to the floor and really try to get this stuff done so you guys, one, have content, and also that we're just ready to go for racing season. We have a good bit of things to button up, but again, just chip away at the list and it'll happen eventually. So yeah, I will see you guys in the next upload. Remember, drop a like, drop a comment. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that little bell for notifications, and I will see you guys in the next one. Remember, ride safe, ride smart, always wear a helmet. See ya.